Welcome back. Today we're diving into two of our favorite parts of travel, food and stays. First, we'll sit down for a memorable meal at one of the city's traditional restaurants, and then I'll take you inside a hotel that made our time here even more special. If you're planning a trip to Iceland, you'll definitely want to see this. Hey y'all, Tim here, resident guest of the channel, and today I'm bringing you my very last video from Iceland. For my final night in Reykjavík, my friends and I wanted to go all in on traditional Icelandic cuisine, so we wouldn't miss out on any of the classics. We headed to the Icelandic bar, or Íslenski barinn, a spot right in the heart of the city that's been serving locals and travelers since 2009. Although known for its daytime cuisine, it's known for its lively atmosphere until 3 a.m. with beer on draft, shelves of liquor, and even a shot wheel for the adventurous. We had a little wait for our table, which gave me some time to capture the energy of the packed restaurant and check out their antique beer display case. We picked this restaurant out days in advance so we wouldn't miss some eccentric but classic Icelandic foods. Dung-smoked salmon wasn't on that list, but of course we had to order it just to see how much of that sheep dung flavor stuck around. It came served on rye slices with chives and horseradish sauce. Surprisingly unique, but with no hints of those sheep turds. Then there was the infamous fermented shark. These little sugar cube-sized bites have a fierce reputation for tasting like urine. The advice we got, don't chew more than about a dozen times if you want to avoid the worst of it. Did it taste good? No, not really, but we were prepared for the worst, so it felt like we got off easy. Just wash it down with your drink. And alongside that, we had dried fish jerky with butter, which was even tougher than beef jerky with a strong, fishy smell that's hard to ignore. If you could get past the smell, the flavor was actually not bad. For my final meal in Iceland, I went all out and ordered the Icelandic delicacy platter. This came with more dung-smoked salmon, as well as smoked leg of lamb that tasted a lot like an American cold cut, and then marinated fin whale, which I'll get into later, as well as cocktail shrimp wrapped in a cucumber blanket with a sweet jam sauce. This was my favorite bite of the whole platter. And then it also came with Icelandic cheeses, breads, and butter. Next up was Sigga's Burger, a beef patty with cheese, pepper cheese sauce, lettuce, bell pepper, and bacon, all wrapped inside an Icelandic pancake, with even more cheese piled on top. Definitely not a traditional Icelandic staple, but a creative twist that stood out and was enjoyed. And then came the grilled fin whale, served rare with mashed potatoes, rucola cheese, béarnaise sauce, an Icelandic favorite, and 3 giant onion rings stacked on the plate into this sky bridge structure, if you will. The whale itself tasted surprisingly ordinary, almost like ground beef you'd find in a burger. A very ordinary experience for such an extravagant dish, I would say. On taste alone, I'd give my meal a 6.7 out of 10. But this restaurant does an incredible job of showcasing traditional Icelandic dishes that you should really try once while you're here, even if they don't always hit the palate as perfectly as, say, a tender lamb chop. We also made a stop at Brauð Co for some pastries. I grabbed a buttery, flaky croissant and a cinnamon roll that had great flavor without being overly sticky. The glaze was more of a light powdered sugar instead of the heavy frosting you see sometimes. An 8.2 out of 10. For our final night in Iceland, we booked a stay at the ALVA Hotel, located just outside the heart of downtown Reykjavík. Before heading inside, I wanted to show you a bit of the street and entrance. I filmed this around 10:30 at night, so things were pretty quiet here. Everybody was in line at the bar across from our dinner restaurant, I guess. The area around the hotel felt very calm, almost too quiet, but definitely safe. And Reykjavík doesn't really have any bad neighborhoods, so there was no concern there. We just weren't right in the heart of the city anymore. Parking was in a P2 lot, which turned out to be free since it was late on the weekend, but during weekdays or the daytime, you need to pay either at a station or through your phone. We ended up parking about a block and a half away, just to be safe since we weren't sure if we could park on this street right here in front of the hotel. The entrance itself is pretty understated, with a small awning about halfway down the street. Most of the signage for ALVA is at the corner, so it's easy to walk past if you're not looking for it. Access is all self-serve with a key code sent to you at booking. ALVA is actually a staff-free hotel most of the time, aside from the food prep and cleaning, which makes for a very streamlined but different kind of stay. Inside the ALVA Hotel, the main lobby is simple but cozy, with a few seats, a fireplace, and some brochures with things to do around Reykjavík. I really appreciated the recessed wood-beamed ceiling here. It's one of the first wood details you'll notice, with the fireplace over here being the next. Not sure if the fireplace works, but maybe I should have tested it. Upstairs, the hallways are actually nicer than I expected. They've got these backlit wood panels between each room, which gives a warm vibe to what's normally just a boring corridor. Even the room numbers have the ALVA logo worked into them, a simple touch, but it makes the place feel more put together. There was some construction in the area, so maybe that's why it felt so quiet outside, or maybe it was that massive moon in the sky. Okay, fine, it was just a stairwell light, but it looked pretty epic in the moment. The stairwell is right off the main entrance with the sliding doors, which open up into these orange, brown, and green feature seats. Not really couches, not chairs, just kind of seating devices, I guess. The only real info you'll find in the lobby is that little podium right here, but most of the details about your stay come through the email with your reservation. Just to the left are the elevators, and you can see me trekking through the mirror there, along with a few whale-watching brochures. As we walk past the fireplace and that wood ceiling detail again, it leads into the breakfast room in the back. You can scan yourself in at this little turnstile kiosk, which is kind of cool. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to try the breakfast since our flights left early in the morning, and I had something else planned as well, so stay tuned for that at the end of the video. Up in the stairwell, there's a little skylight on the top floor. Not really sure why it's there, but it did give me a nice view of the crane again. At the top, right by the elevator, there is this small wing of the hotel that shows how far the building actually stretches across the block. And whoa, watch your step there. There are a lot of rooms packed into this place, though, for just 3 floors of a hotel. Inside the room, we had a queen bed and a pull-out couch, plus a big TV on the wall. They gave us a set of towels and 2 pillows each, and there were a couple of nightstands, a corner chair, and this pretty big storage unit that actually came in handy for us. The windows were huge, which gave us a nice view of the city, though we did have to keep them open because it was pretty warm inside. With them open, you did hear a bit of the city noise, a car passing here or there, and the occasional group of people stumbling home from the bar. Kind of like free background entertainment if you couldn't sleep. The bathroom had a shower chair and a sleek wall-mounted toilet, along with another open shower. The slight slope in the floor doesn't really stop the water from spraying everywhere, so don't be surprised if your socks get a little wet. But overall, it was a nice shower that came with body wash and shampoo as well. I also like the matching marble floor and countertop. It made the whole space feel pretty polished for a hotel bathroom. Here is the pull-out bed fully laid out with the 2 of us sleeping in the queen, leaving us just enough room to get some rest while not forgetting that the other 2 were in the room. I enjoyed the hotel stay overall. It definitely was the most ordinary stay that we had on the trip, but it was good to have a routine before the flight. It cost us 92 euros to book this room, which is roughly $107 as of filming this. So definitely a pretty budget-friendly option that I would recommend if you're in the area. Finally, I wanted to leave you with some of the visuals we enjoyed during our stay in Reykjavik. From the magnificent sunset to the mountains across the bay, and views looking back at the city with Hallgrímskirkja Church standing tall. The Harpa Concert Hall was stunning, both inside and out. Even these white silos caught my eye. They looked amazing against the water in the mountains, almost like they belonged in a postcard. And finally, I was feeling myself before my early flight, so I decided to take advantage of the 4 a.m. sunrise and hike Móskarðshnjúkar. The view from the summit just before 5 a.m. was absolutely breathtaking, though I had to mute my own loud panting breathing from climbing that whole trail. Totally worth it. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. This wraps up the Iceland series for now, so you won't have to listen to this voice anymore. But if you enjoyed the videos, drop a comment below and let us know what you liked and what you'd like to see next. I know they've got some awesome content coming up, and I think y'all will enjoy it, so stay tuned.